You won't believe what one woman from my neighborhood did just because she didn't like where I kept my trash bins. This story is straight from the Entitled People subreddit, and yeah, it's a wild ride. So grab your coffee or snack, because you're about to hear how a so-called HOA Karen took pettiness to a whole new level. It all started when my new neighbor, let's just call her Karen, moved in and instantly began acting like she ran the entire block. She wasn't even part of the HOA board, but that didn't stop her from sending passive-aggressive notes and giving everyone dirty looks if something wasn't up to **her* standards. My crime: leaving my trash bins out a few extra hours after pickup. Not in the street, not blocking anyone, just by the side of my garage. At first, I thought it was a misunderstanding. But then one of my bins disappeared. A week later, the other one vanished. It didn't take long before I caught her red-handed, wheeling them away like she owned them. I tried talking to her, but she just smirked and said they were community property now. So I came up with a plan involving a little bit of concrete and a whole lot of patience. You'll want to stick around for how that played out. Let's just say, karma got real heavy. Now, before I tell you exactly what I did with the concrete, let me give you a little more context about Karen and how things got so bad. She moved in just a couple of months ago, but it felt like she'd been planning her neighborhood takeover since day one. Every little thing became a problem to her: garden gnomes, lawn chairs, even kids riding their bikes too close to her driveway. And of course, trash bins left out past noon on pickup day. Unacceptable in her eyes. I tried to stay polite. I even brought her cookies, once as a welcome gesture, and she literally closed the door mid-sentence. Not even a thank you. After my bins went missing the second time, I asked around. Turns out, I wasn't the only target. She had also complained about my next-door neighbor's flower pots being too colorful, and someone else's fence paint being too bright. What really pushed me over the edge was when I found my trash bin, my property, parked beside her house with my house number scratched off. When I confronted her, she told me I should learn to follow rules and slammed her door. That's when I realized this wasn't just about trash bins. This was about control. And I had just the right idea to stop her without saying a word. So now I knew for sure Karen wasn't just nosy, she was on a full-blown power trip. And she'd picked me to be her next project. The worst part: I checked with the actual HOA board, and they told me there was no asterisk ruled about bins being out for a few hours. As long as they were brought in by the end of the day, it was totally fine. But Karen didn't care. She was enforcing her own fake rules, and anyone who didn't play along, she made their life miserable. After I spoke with the HOA, I started noticing other strange things. My mail was being delivered to weird places. Packages would show up torn open or mysteriously late. One time, a neighbor told me they saw Karen peeking over my fence, just watching. Not doing anything, just watching. That's when I realized this wasn't just a petty neighbor problem anymore. She was trying to intimidate me. Some of the other neighbors had their own run-ins with her too. One guy said she reported him to animal control for having a barking dog. His dog was deaf and didn't bark at all. Another family said she kept knocking over their recycling bin by accident. Everyone was annoyed, but no one wanted to stand up to her because they were afraid of what she might do next. That's when I knew I had to do something different. Not to start drama, but to send a message without breaking any rules. Something that would make her think twice before stealing from anyone again. And it all started with a trip to the hardware store and a few bags of concrete, but not in the way you might think. What happened next, though? It surprised even me. So I grabbed 2 replacement bins, just the standard city-issue ones, and brought them home like nothing ever happened. This time, though, I had a little twist in mind. I mixed up a couple bags of concrete, poured the mix into the bottom of each bin, and let it cure overnight. Not to ruin anything, just enough weight to make them practically impossible to move without serious effort. From the outside, they looked totally normal. But anyone trying to casually roll them off, yeah, not gonna happen. The next morning, I set them out in the exact same spot by the barrage. Same time, same day. And then I waited. I didn't tell anyone, didn't give any hints, just acted like it was business as usual. And sure enough, around noon, I saw her again, Karen, marching across the street like she was about to deliver justice. She looked both ways, then casually walked up my driveway like she was grabbing her own bins. No hesitation, like this was routine. I watched from inside, phone in hand, heart pounding. She reached for the first one, gave it a tug, and nothing. She pulled harder. Still nothing. Her face started to twist into confusion, then frustration. She moved to the second one, thinking maybe it was just stuck. Same thing. Dead weight. She glanced around, clearly trying to figure out what was going on. At this point, I couldn't help but feel a little nervous. What if she caught on? What if she escalated? But then, just as she bent down to inspect the bottom of one of the bins, a car turned the corner and slowly drove by. Karen froze. She stood up straight, trying to play it off like she wasn't just caught red-handed. The driver gave her a long look and then kept driving. That was when I saw it, the moment her confidence cracked just a little. She stepped back, looked around one last time, and stormed off empty-handed. But I knew this wasn't over. Not yet. Because later that day, something even weirder happened, something that made me realize she wasn't done messing with me. Later that evening, just when I thought the whole trash bin situation had finally hit its peak, I noticed something strange. My motion sensor light near the garage kept flicking on and off. At first, I thought maybe it was just a cat or something harmless. But when I checked the footage from my security cam, there she was, Karen, walking slowly past my house. Not once, but 3 separate times. She wasn't doing anything, just pacing, staring at the bins like they'd personally insulted her. That alone gave me chills, but what happened the next morning took everything to a new level. I woke up to find a warning notice taped to my front door, an official-looking paper claiming I had violated multiple HOA sanitation codes, with a threat of fines if I didn't remove the bins immediately. The thing is, it wasn't from the actual HOA. I recognized the letterhead as something she'd printed herself. The font didn't even match the usual notices we get, but it looked real enough that I knew someone less familiar might have fallen for it. That's when it hit me. Karen was doubling down. Since she couldn't physically take the bins, she was now trying to intimidate me with fake authority. Word was starting to spread around the neighborhood. A couple of neighbors even texted me, saying they got similar notes about their lawns or decorations, and now they were wondering if Karen had anything to do with it. The more I thought about it, the more it all connected. This wasn't just about me anymore. She was running her own little operation, handing out bogus warnings like she was queen of the block. But what she didn't know was that I wasn't the only one watching her now. Another neighbor had quietly installed a camera of their own after Karen complained about their illegal bird feeder. And what that camera captured completely changed everything. The next day, my neighbor, let's call him Dan, came over with a USB stick in his hand and a look on his face like he couldn't believe what he'd just seen. He had checked his security footage from the night before, and sure enough, there was Karen again. Only this time, it wasn't just pacing or fake notices. At around 2 a.m., she snuck into his front yard and actually tried to open his fence gate. When it didn't budge, she walked straight to the side of his house and stood there for a few minutes, just standing, barely moving, like she was trying to listen through the walls or figure out if anyone was awake. Dan sent the footage to the real HOA board immediately. I backed it up with my own video clips, the bin theft, the pacing, a fake warning notice. Within 24 hours, Karen was officially called into a meeting, and this time she couldn't lie her way out. The board confirmed she wasn't on any committee, had no authority, and had been harassing multiple residents. She tried to play the victim at first, saying we were all ganging up on her. But once they showed her the videos, the color just drained from her face. She was issued a formal cease and desist letter, and the board made it clear that any further behavior like this would lead to legal action. Neighbors started to feel a sense of relief. Finally, someone had stood up to her, and she couldn't hide behind fake power anymore. But here's the twist. A week later, Karen put her house up for sale. We thought she was leaving, and honestly, most of us were ready to celebrate. But instead of disappearing quietly, she left a little goodbye gift. My next trash day, I opened one of my heavy bins to toss something in, and sitting right on top, wrapped in tissue paper, was a ceramic angel figurine, the exact one that had gone missing from Dan's front porch months ago. She never said a word, just left it there like a silent message. We still don't know what that meant, but one thing's for sure, Karen may be gone, but she definitely wanted us to know she's not forgotten. After that last surprise with the angel figurine, things finally settled down. Karen sold her house and moved out a few weeks later. No more fake notices, no more missing trash bins. The whole neighborhood seemed to breathe a little easier, like we'd all been living under a weird cloud we didn't even fully notice until it was gone. Dan got his porch angel back, still no clue why she took it, and we all kind of laughed about it later, even though it was still a little creepy. I never expected a story about stolen trash bins to turn into a full-blown neighborhood drama, but that's what happens when someone with a control complex and an HOA obsession decides to take charge. The biggest takeaway for me: sometimes the best way to deal with entitled people isn't to fight fire with fire, but to be just smart enough, just patient enough, to let their own actions catch up to them. And yeah, a little creative thinking, like concrete-filled bins, doesn't hurt. Thanks for sticking through this wild ride from the Entitled People subreddit. If you've ever had to deal with your own version of an HOA Karen, you're definitely not alone. Trust me, sometimes karma just needs a little nudge.